Now is the time for the University of Minnesota to hand the keys over to Athan Kaliakmanis. Perfect time to subscribe to the channel is right now. Big Ten content every single day. And as always, crush that like button. Look, Tanner Morgan has done great things at Minnesota. You look back to that season in 2019, that magical 2019 season for the boys from Minneapolis, and he was a big part of why that team was so successful. But, you go back to the 2020 season, and then you see what's happened this season. I think now is the time for Athan Kaliakmanis to be the guy at Minnesota. And to be honest with you, I know you're looking towards the future with a move like that, but man, you're also looking at the present. I firmly believe that Athan Kaliakmanis, and maybe this game is a perfect example, Athan Kaliakmanis gives you a better chance to win football games than Tanner Morgan does. Look at the offense in the first half. You can talk about injuries all you want, and I get an undisclosed injury as to why Tanner Morgan did not continue. At least that's what we were told on the ESPN2 broadcast. But man, when Athan Kaliakmanis came into the game, it's his running ability. I think he gives the Gophers a better chance to push the ball down the field. I just think everything works better together with Athan Kaliakmanis at the quarterback position for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So they should continue with him. You know who else they should continue with and keep giving the ball to, of course, is Mohamed Ibrahim. And that's exactly what happened. I want to give big props to this Nebraska defense. They look tougher. Mickey Joseph, Bill Bush, especially the defensive coordinator right now, he has this team better in the front seven. He has this team tougher. Even when Mohamed Ibrahim was running downhill in that second half, and, he had a few big runs, but, man, a lot of it was 5-yard runs, 6-yard runs. He wasn't able to break off a big 20-yard run, 30-yard run against this Nebraska defense. This Husker defense is improving. They are getting better at defending the run, but they just don't have the juice. They don't have the juice right now to go an entire 60 minutes and defending a physical type of attack like Minnesota. The key for Minnesota was not to get too far behind. Okay, keeping it at 10 points was so huge there at sometime in that second quarter, because if that gets to a 17-point game, that gets to a 20-point game, then maybe Kirk Shiraka and this offense starts to panic a little bit. They throw the football in the air and they're not able to run the ball. But they kept it to around a 2-score game right at that 10-point margin, and they were still able to run the ball. They didn't abandon the running game. The defense did their job keeping the score where it should have been to allow Minnesota to keep running the football with Mohamed Ibrahim. You're never out of the game, I think, with 24 in the backfield. It just seems that way. If you're within striking distance, if you're within 10 or 13 points, just keep running the ball. I know at certain points in this game, it seemed like Minnesota maybe should put the ball in the air more, and they did when Athan kind of got in there in the second half. But man, just keep handing the football to Mohamed Ibrahim. Good things happen. Considering how this game started and how stout Nebraska was playing on the other side of this really good Minnesota offensive line, it's a big testament to Mo. It's a big testament to Minnesota to continue that 100-yard rushing streak that still stays intact for Mohamed Ibrahim at Minnesota. This is a tough team. It is extremely difficult to go the distance against Minnesota and toughen them out and be tougher than them for that entire time. Maybe at certain points in the game, Nebraska was a little bit tougher than Minnesota, but not for the entire game. Let's talk about the Huskers on offense. The more I watched this game and the more I saw from Logan Smothers down the stretch, it kind of got me thinking they maybe should have started Logan Smothers in this game. That first drive, they go down the field. Right, Chubba Purdy looking good. This running game is looking good. And then I think that's when Minnesota settled in. After those first two drives, it's like, okay, this is a team that wants to run the ball. I'm not sure if they trust Chubba Purdy too much. And the more I saw Chubba Purdy put the football in the air, I could see why those first couple of drives were structured the way they were. That being said, I kind of thought Mark Whipple maybe should have tried to run the ball a little bit more with Anthony Grant, but you got to give a ton of credit to Minnesota, the way they adjusted in game. I saw Adam Carricker, of course, of the Carricker Chronicles, tweet out kind of sometime in the second half, where's the in-game adjustments? I look at Minnesota. they made some big-time in-game adjustments when Nebraska went right down the field. And I said it in my preview, Nebraska needs to go right down the field and score to get the lead to try to get Minnesota to play behind. And Nebraska executed that game plan. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, but they didn't keep doing it. I'm sure Mark Whipple had mixed emotions the way they were able to be physical, pound the ball with Anthony Grant, and finish with a touchdown. But it wasn't a sustainable model. It wasn't a sustainable thing because Chubba Purdy just doesn't have the talent at quarterback. I kind of look at this team down the stretch. If you don't have Casey Thompson, it might be best to try it. And I know this is going to hurt Mark Whipple's heart, but you got to maybe try to invest a little bit more in that running game and then try to hit plays over the top to a Trey Palmer like a Marcus Washington on that fourth down late in this game. I believe if you don't have Casey Thompson, Logan Smothers should be your guy at quarterback for Nebraska. Look, the more time I think that goes by, this is not going to be Mickey Joseph's team next season. I thought this team, when they got up, and I'm like, oh, this is a statement that Nebraska can make. Maybe Mickey Joseph can make. But although they're making improvements as a football team, it's just not huge improvements. And you can't expect huge, giant leaps in the middle of the season. It would be still nice to see Mickey Joseph be an assistant coach, maybe on the staff going forward. But I think one thing we've learned is that it is very difficult to make these types of jumps in a short period of time. And if Nebraska does not have Casey Thompson, I don't think they have the strong point on their offense, and that's their downfield passing game. Yes, their running game is solid. Yes, their running game is good. I think Anthony Grant is, one of the more underrated backs in a conference full of great backs back there for Nebraska. But this is a team that gets big plays and their yardage by throwing the football down the field. Want to know what you guys think of this game? You think Minnesota can keep it going? Do you think Athan Kaliakmanis should be the starter going forward for Minnesota over Tanner Morgan, even if Tanner Morgan is healthy? And how do you feel about Nebraska? I know there's a lot of Husker fans out there. Who would you like to see at quarterback if Casey Thompson is not able to go in the future? Leave your thoughts on this game below in the comments. I'm Big Ten Ted, and we will see you in the next one.